Hi, good morning. My name is Kevin Binder. I'm an area director with Agility Recovery, and today we're going to talk about how to better prepare your business and recover from a disaster following an unforeseen event. The fourth tip or suggestion is planning for an alternative location. And there's lots of options out there. One in particular that Agility likes and offers just a ton of flexibility is mobile recovery. A mobile office can literally be set up anywhere. It's independent of local infrastructure. It's cost effective. The site becomes your own. There are other options as well. There's something called a hot site, which some or most of you might be familiar with in the room, where you go to a permanent facility that's already set up, has computers and phone systems in place. You may be sitting next to a competitor, and you might be sitting next to another company, for example. So they're inflexible, and you tend to not always have access to those resources in a regional event, since you're generally first come, first serve. So if you're not first calling into that provider of yours and declaring for a disaster, you might not have access to that space. Other alternatives that we certainly recommend you take a look at sourcing or securing is a reciprocal type of agreement, whether you're a bank or an insurance agency or a law firm or an accounting firm. Perhaps you have some type of memo of understanding with another business locally or maybe 15, 20 miles away that says, well, we can use your space in the event of a disaster, and vice versa. You can use our space to continue your operations. Maybe you have some type of internal or do-it-yourself program where perhaps one of your officers of your organization has access to office space, or maybe a big basement of some sort, and you can utilize the space available there. So just make sure you have another place to go. Make sure you test it, and if you do have a reciprocal type of agreement, make sure that you're high on the priority list, if you will, that particular company that you have that reciprocal agreement with, well, maybe they're not offering out that space to 5 or 10 other companies as well. So you want to make sure that they can deliver on their promise and vice versa. An example we like to give about having access to alternative locations is we represent a credit union in Louisiana, ASI Federal Credit Union. And during Katrina, they dodged the Katrina bullet, if you will. They were very fortunate where that storm didn't impact their business. After the storm hit and kind of went through and they realized the devastation that the Gulf Coast took, they had conversations and they told themselves, if a storm like this happens again, we might not be so lucky. So they decided to become Agility members. And they had an interesting scenario where this happened Sunday into Monday, but they had a little plastic fixture that connects the back of a sink, if you will, to the wall. It's a $2 piece you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's, and it cracked. And over the course of that day and a half, 2 days, they estimated about 20,000 gallons of water flooded the office. And their first reaction was to go recover in the break room. They had a little bit of space in the break room, not a ton. They quickly realized after trying to recover and relocate their employees to the break room that productivity went down, the synergy went down, people just weren't getting work done, there wasn't enough personal space, if you will. So they called Agility and we brought in a mobile office and ended up working out of that mobile office for more than a month, because they had the contractors come in, the restoration company come in, rip out the drywall, rip out the carpeting and everything else until they were able to fix that office back up. So it's just having these backups in place that will allow you to resume operations and resume them efficiently. And the fifth and last step is so crucial, and unfortunately not enough companies do it. Whether you're an Agility client or member or not, you should really test your plan. Whatever your plan states, you need to test it. Whether you test alternative forms of communication, or maybe rebuilding your servers, or getting email back up and running, or if you have a reciprocal type of agreement with another company in the area, test using that plan, because that's the way you're going to identify the holes that exist within the plan, and that way when something truly happens, an actual disaster, you've identified any hiccups, if you will, or any bumps in the road that you're going to encounter. So it just puts yourself in a better position to get your business back up and running, and there's so many benefits of getting back up and running sooner rather than later. And again, it's testing should be done at least once a year, if not more. There's no pass or fail. You're always going to learn something from the exercises that you undertake. And make sure everybody within the organization is part of the test and they understand their roles and responsibilities. We represent, we have a lot of credit union examples, but nonetheless, we represent a credit union, and they were going through a test, and they had all the right information, right? They had their username and passwords for the computers. They thought they had everything in place. They stored their data in the cloud as well, which so many companies do nowadays. They realized going through the testing exercise, they didn't have the contact information of their cloud provider. So they didn't have their phone number, they didn't have their email addresses or anything else to reach out to them, their account rep to get in touch with them and let them know that, hey, we have a disaster here. So you can go through all the exercises and all the motions, but sometimes it's something as small as a phone number or email address that you need. So if you can't reach out to them, they're not going to know you're experiencing a disaster. So again, go through the exercises. It's worth it. You don't have to. A test is not going to take you a long time to do. It could just take you a couple hours a day. Again, let people know you're going to do a test. Who knows, you might want to catch them off guard one day and to bring them into a conference room and say, hey, we just had a fire. What do we do? Where do we recover? What redundancies do we have in place? And you'll be surprised at the reactions. Most people won't know what to do, so you truly have to educate your staff on what resources you have and what the responsibilities are so they know what to do when something happens. Agility, I won't go into it, but again, we deliver office space, power, communications, and technology needed to recover businesses. So I'm more than happy to answer questions about this presentation now or about agility afterwards, but very much appreciate the time. Hopefully you've picked up a few steps that you can take back to go to your organization, just be better prepared, so when something happens, you don't think back and say, geez, I should have done all of those steps. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Kevin. That was great and super helpful as far as planning and seeing what actually can happen. So, as a member of it, as Deland Gibson is a member of Agility, I also want to key in on a few things that I picked up from our experience. And the first was it goes into a lot more depth as far as planning for your IT needs. And if you want to speak with Greg Renson in the back, he's our IT director, and it was a really good experience to realize what it takes to actually connect. And it's easier to think about it like, oh, well, we'll just connect the phone systems, but to dig into that process and to really figure that out was a good experience. Another aspect of it was document management. So again, with Agility, you can store your critical information in their system. So if it's in the building and there's a disaster, it's not really a good place to have that. So it's just to have all the contact information, etc. is great. And another benefit within that benefit is, as a member of Agility, all of our employees have access to that personally. So if they have any personal family emergencies, they can store their information online and get that in the event of an issue. And another thing, well, so you mentioned the mass text messages. And so for us, what we thought was a really good benefit that didn't anticipate was, we live in the Northeast. We have snow days. It just happens sometimes when there might be a 2-hour delay. There might be, it might close early. Communicating that is a lot harder when you actually do it. So for us, we have a phone tree where you can call in, but people won't pick up the phone or something like that will happen. It just there's often miscommunication. So what we can do now is we have everyone's cell phone, and we can just blast a group text message, so everyone gets that text message at the same time, and it's just a much more streamlined way of communicating. And how DG can also help bring everything together is there's a few steps within the Deland Gibson difference we can help with. That's inventory management. I mean, it depends on the type of business you have, but having us help you with your inventory and storing the information on that is better than you having it on site and not having it after a disaster. The next aspect is by working with Deland Gibson, we offer a 15% discount on Agility services, so that's a bonus. And another thing is business income and extra expense worksheets. Often those are overlooked, and it's just a line on the insurance policy, but it's really critical to work with Deland Gibson and your CPA to determine what you need. How much money do you actually need to survive if you're shut down? Depending on your industry, you might need more BII, business income insurance versus extra expense, which is just startup costs, but that's something you really need to figure out before a loss and make sure you have the correct information, correct amounts. And the last thing I just want to mention was, depending on your industry, there are different things you need to look into. For instance, if you're in financial services, there's more testing requirements, etc. And our company partners also have more defined information that we can hand out to you. So if you have questions on your specific industry, reach out to us and we can give you more information on more specific industry facts and whatnot. So again, thank you all for coming. I guess the last thing is the handout on the table. One is it was step 3 of the planning was crisis communication. So it's just a basic checklist to check out and to go through. It actually, reading through it, you learn a lot, even if you have one already set up like we do at Deland Gibson. And the other thing is just a feedback form. We'd like to get any information and critique on today, just to make everything in the future. So if we, can improve upon the presentations. So thank you all for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was worthwhile, and have a good day.
Thank you.